Hello everybody, it's Thorfinn here, and today I want to make a video on Yoru, right, and kind of talking about more specifically of just kind of how to use Yoru rather than kind of basis on this map. But I decided to choose Abyss because we've seen a lot of pro teams use Yoru on Abyss, right? And kind of the main thing that we see a lot of teams begin to do, right, is play Neon and Yoru. Personally, out of the two, I think Yoru is better. I think Yoru is the most underutilized agent in the game, and I think he's one of the most overtuned. So why do people use Yoru and Neon over people like Jet and Raze, right? Well, it's mainly because of how they disrupt timings, right? So for Neon, right, you can rotate extremely fast, and with Yoru, you can rotate almost instantaneously. And by disrupting those timings, it makes it really difficult for the opponents to understand how many are on a bomb site, right? Because you can always have someone like insta TP over, and then boom, you have 3 rather than 2. Or just kind of know like, oh, like Yoru was spotted there, right? That means that, like, you know, oh, like the pack is there, but instead they're somewhere else because you can just TP. So I'm gonna end the game here and kind of talk about like the basics of Yoru, right? And kind of the TPs. So on attack, right, you can TP in. That's a very like solid option, but a lot of people really don't understand that it's the same sort of concept as a jet dash, right? Where you need something to support it, right? You have like the flash. That's not always going to be as reliable, right? Personally, what I think is great for Yoru is not necessarily using the TPs in this fashion, but using the TPs to sort of fake hits, right? Or to kind of rotate and TP into spots that you normally couldn't be, right? Like for example, like a normal sort of hit, what you do is instantly drop your clone and then flash out of the smoke or wherever you want to throw your flash. And the reason why you do this is to break any piece of your sentinel utility, cipher trips, sonic sensors. You can even activate alarm bots, turrets, things like that, right? Obviously the turret will just insta just pop the flash, right? But a great thing about that is that you can pretty much combo that with a normal flash, right? Clone, normal flash, and that guy is blind as shit if he tries to spam off of the TP, right? But using the TP to get into spots like this, right, where you kind of know that there's no one there, right, that you can kind of take the educated guess and slip behind enemy lines, is always really good. But personally, I think it's really good comboed with his ultimate, right? You pop the ult, you go here, and now boom, like you clear this site extremely fast, which gives you more duration on the Yoru ult to kind of prod towards mid or towards CT to kind of see who's doing what, right, and how people are positioning, as well as using the TPs effectively. They're not jet dashes, right? So you have to play smart, right? You have to like sort of jiggle this angle, you go for a kill, and then you TP out, right? You can't just hold super wide off angles and then kill and then a TP, right? You have to be smart with it. So if you're holding these wide off angles, which, you know, sometimes is, you know, what you're gonna have to do to secure a kill, you get the kill and sort of back up and then make sure you're in cover before you TP, right? A lot of people will try to just like sit here, right, hold this super wide off angle, kill a guy and try to TP. You can get traded, right? It is fairly quick, but you want to be as safe as possible with it. Next, like with the flash, right, popping it through smokes and things is always going to be great, but just knowing like spots where you can throw the flash where your teammates aren't necessarily going to be looking at it, that's a pretty good one for people coming out here, right? Just throwing the flash off of this, and most of the time, like, you're not going to hear the flash from that direction, but also it's just not going to blind you, right, because you're just looking behind it and it's far away. But remember, the farther away flashes are, the less they will blind, so the less sort of window of opportunity that you have. So on defense, right, personally, right, this is where I would say you need to start using lineups, right? On bind, there's a lot of lineups that you see used from time to time where it's really hard to break, and flashing that are just really annoying, right? But always just try to make sure that you're going with general flash rules, right? Where you kind of flash off of like jiggling, right? You jiggle, flash peak, right? Rather than just sort of gambling the flash. As well as making sure that you're flashing high is usually kind of the go-to, right? Throwing super low flashes like this, well, more so like this, right? Like just bouncing it off like this is not great unless you're trying to pop it through a smoke, right? Which is kind of is another thing. With Yoru, you can look directly at the floor, throw the flash, and it'll bounce over a smoke, which is neat. Because sometimes you'll see people do this, where they'll flash like this, and then this guy won't get blind, so he'll just swing and kill you. So always being aware of like where your flash blinds, the limitations, how you need to path in order to effectively ensure that you're going to be flashing. Now this takes like just time and practice with the Yoru flash. It's something that you really need to just kind of go in a server or play like Swift Plays or Unrated or whatever, and just kind of fuck around with it and kind of look for how you need to throw it in certain positions and things like that. The thing with Yoru that is always sort of jarring towards people is that it requires a lot of prep. You need to kind of know, you need to have like some TP lineups that you use from time to time. You need to understand how to throw your flash from insert X position, right? You know, and compared to other duelists, you don't necessarily have to do that, right, with them. But you always have like these small little things, right? Like whether you think so or not, you have like these ideas of, oh, like if I go on this bomb site, I'm gonna path like on the right or something like that, right? Or, you know, I'm gonna path to the left. And it's similar to Yoru, it's just you have to take those extra steps, right?
Cutting through.
Also, again, TPing off of info is really good, right? So throwing this TP here, using info close, and then boom, there's nothing. Then sort of TPing onto here and taking that space, knowing that you have it, right? The main thing with Yoru in comparison to other duelists, where other duelists can take space that is sort of unknown to them, right? Like Neon has the wall and then the slide, so you can sort of obscure yourself and take you know, unknown positions. For Yoru, you need to take space that you know is empty usually, right? You don't want to gamble TPs that often unless you just want to go for like an insane kill, or if you have info, right? Comboing Yoru with a Cypher ult is like great, right? Because you have like infinite like info, right, is great. So on like alts where I had a Cypher ult, right, I'll throw a TP that goes like into the opponent's spawn or goes into like just an insane position, right? And then like if the Cypher ult pings a guy like right, like for example, if a Cypher ult pings a guy like right here, and then one right here, and then like another guy like here, I know that I can take this TP and just be a complete fucking nuisance, right? Just be an absolute asshole to these two guys while I'm just throwing util for my teammates, right? So another thing, right, is personally, the thing that I use the clone for is to break TPs, right, on attack. On defense, personally, I like using the clone to sort of bait shots, right, and sort of take timings and use it as a pseudo flash, right? Personally, I think comboing two flashes together is really great, right? Like for example, what you do is you'd throw the Yoru decoy, throw a flash like this, and now they're double blind, right? Especially flashing before the decoy hits around the corner, right? So for example, you hold the flash here, boom, they're blind, they're gonna spam, and then now they're double blind, and it's pretty much just a guaranteed kill, right? Doing stuff like that is super important, as well, again, as understanding like where you need to throw your flash, right? You can throw your flash behind you and take these fights. Unlike most flash agents, that's a lot of what you're going to be doing with Yoru, is you're going to have to get used to that half blind little flash on your screen, right? And one thing that I have to say to that is, if it sort of bothers you, because I know a lot of people in my ranked games, they get really bothered when I throw a flash that half flash them, right? Because in Valorant, there's a lot of flashes that you're never really going to have to experience that, even though in like CS, for example, you get that often, right? That's one of the ways to capitalize on flashes, because, you know, you're making the guy turn away, and then you're peeking while he's turning away to give you just even more of a time to kill him. Or just forcing that guy to just full blind a flash, right? Going wide off of flashes that you know connect
Careful here.
when you're taking timings like this is also really important. But if you think that if you sort of have this idea that you're not catching a timing with a flash and you're just going for, you know, you're going for a kill, always trying to peek like out like this, right, where you sort of jiggle to try to get the guy who's most out in the open, and then sort of going for this is usually my go-to tactic, right? Because sometimes you're going to flash and then this guy right here is going to be behind the corner and he's going to instantly swing to help his teammates. So instead of always wide swinging, right, taking these, right, it just makes you really hard to be A, traded, and B, it just allows you to capitalize a lot more on your flashes and not, you know, get sit down like a dog sometimes, right? Next with the Yoru waltz, right? Yoru waltz is really good. It's really good for retaking. It's really good for taking a bomb site. It's just insane in general, right? One thing that you need to do, right, is essentially when you're ulting, tell your teammates what your plan is, right? Are you going to basically like body block a guy in a corner so you dump util at him and kill him? Or are you going to basically try and highlight people who are out in the open by like following them and spamming through smoke and stuff like that is super important, right? For example, let's say there's a guy right here, he's planning and he wants to instantly run back to play post plant. If you're ripping your ult, you can tell your heaven guy who's next to you like, hey, I'm on the guy, spam, 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 right? And then get pretty free kills that way, as well as with like soulful ults and things like that, right? Where you can basically guide them to where they should hit, right? Even though they have no info is really good. In one of my previous videos, I talked about a comp that was Omen, Harbor, Sova, Cypher, and Yoru. And one of the reasons why Yoru's on that comp is he combos really well with Cypher and Sova, right? He's good at capitalizing off of information, right? So you have info of where people are, so you know you can take risky TPs or insane timings, as well as he combos really well with the Sova ults, because most of the time you need a dart or a drone tag to get maximum value off the Sova ult to guarantee some scans, right, and some tags with it. But with Yoru ults, you don't need that info and you can save the dart. Like for example, if you have like a Sova ult, right, and your Yoru you come out here as Yoru and you get these scans, right, you can save the dart for the second half of the retake, right? Because the first half would be trying to kill people off of the plant with the Sova Yoru ult combo, right? And then the next half would be retaking the rest of the bomb site. One thing that you need to kind of be wary of is when you're ulting and you see people,
careful here.
You need to tell your teammates basically like, hey, this guy's going to swing. Like, I'm not going to flash this guy, he's going to swing. Because most of the time, that's exactly what happens. Unless this guy is all the way back here, you're not getting a flash off. Any smart player, instantly, when he sees this Yoru ult, he knows he either needs to A, run spawn, or B, just swing, right? Otherwise, he's cooked, essentially. Because you're just going to flash in front of him and then right-click classic him or shorty his ass, right? So always be aware of that. And even if you're playing with a Yoru, always be aware of guys just swinging, right? And you not being able to do that. When you're coming out of your Yoru ults as well, same thing. Flash, clone, come out of the ult, right? That's sort of the big combo here. It's like I said in my Gecko video where Wingman Dizzy is the main combo to sort of isolate an easy kill on somebody and just throw util at them. With Yoru, it's the clone and the flash, right? Throwing a clone, pop a flash. Boom, he blinds, shoots the clone, you kill the guy, right? Unless they run away. And even then, if they run away, you can capitalize on that space extremely well. So that's really all I have to say about Yoru, right? A lot of people think that he's super complex and that you have to do all these crazy things, which you can, but you can play Yoru in a very fundamental style. I recommend watching Ethan from NRG. Any of his Yoru gameplay is stellar. He has dedicated flash lineups, TP lineups, and things like that, and he really knows when to take those timings. And unfortunately, I can't really teach when to take those timings, right? You have to really know and understand and play the game a lot and play a lot of Yoru in order to actually reap the benefits of him, but he's insanely overtuned, right? He has a great flash. His fake out counters all sentinel utility. He can instantly TP across the map, which in ranked is really good because you're dealing with a lot of just 5-man rush B. So you can go A, oh, they're going B, insta TP, boom. So please leave a like and subscribe if you want me to go over like dedicated Yoru lineups on certain maps or things like that, right? I'll try to gather as much information on that as I can, or any other you know, agents that you would like to understand and kind of see my perspective on it and what I've looked at, right? I mean, I've looked at a lot of pro footage. I watch basically every VCT match, especially in Americas, so I kind of know a lot of these meta agents that are being played. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.